Allies or Enemies by Juniper. Chapter 31. Why are you asleep? Grian opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling in confusion. He moved to sit up and realized he couldn't move. His eyes widened, glancing around in confusion. Huh? He was so confused, listening to someone talk. I told you you shouldn't have gone to sleep. No, no, he was not back in the room. He couldn't be. He woke up. He could have sworn he did. He woke up. He woke up. Green jerked away with a yell, a rapid beeping going off in his ears. He looked around in the dark in fear, drastically different from the stark white he was used to. Green? He jumped, turning his head to see Scar. Hey, it's okay. I'm right here. Green immediately calmed, remembering where he was and what had happened. The beeping was him. His heart monitor was indicating his rapid heart rate. Looking at Scar, he realized he more than likely just woke the other up. He swallowed, breathing deeply as he moved to touch his face, dragging his hands down the tube against his cheek. He sighed, shifting to lay back with a flop. He ignored the pain in his back as he closed his eyes. Another nightmare? Scar asked with a sad smile. Grian didn't respond, only groaning in compliance before he sighed heavily. Grian began, reaching up to rub at his eyes, digging the heel of his palm into them. He shifted to his side, staring at Scar. Yeah, he admitted shamefully. It's okay, Scar reassured him, even though Grian tried to hide his face. It'll get better, Scar whispered to his lover. He leaned closer to lay his head down so he was in Grian's view. He smiled brightly, giving Grian a look that could only be translated to pure love. It made Grian's heart heavy. He felt guilty even existing in Scar's presence, dragging him down, preventing him from having something genuinely good. What's with that sad face, Brady? Scar asked, reaching out to run a finger over Grian's bottom lip. Grian hated that he was so readable. He continued to frown. Scar stroked the furrow in his brow until Grian's thoughts ceased. I feel bad, Grian shrugged. I'm all wrapped up in wires. I'm so weak. You're not weak. Scar immediately cut the other off. They shared a glance before Grian looked away. Why do you think you're weak? Scar asked, fingers still stroking the space between Grian's eyebrows. Grian shrugged, a bad habit when he was anxious to share his thoughts. I have these nightmares. I have a tube down my throat. I still can't move my wings. Grian listed off the easiest things coming to mind. I have never been good at this love thing, Grian whispered. So? Scar asked, sitting up to look down at Grian. He set his hand on Grian's elbow, gently rubbing his forearm. You've been through a lot. You woke up today, honey. Like a few hours ago. Like less than 10 hours ago. Scar chuckled softly, getting a smile out of Grian. Scar waited for a few seconds, leaning a little closer to Grian. Can I kiss you? Grian's heart monitor gave him away a little when he moved to sit up with Scar. He began, hand touching the tube in his nose. The tube, it's gross. No, Scar cut the other off. It's keeping you alive, and right now it's the only reason I'm able to even ask if I can kiss you. So come here. Scar pouted at the blonde. Grian blushed slightly, but smiled as he awkwardly leaned in to give Scar a kiss on the lips. Grian was right. The tube was odd, but if Scar had any issue, he didn't speak about it. Grian pulled away with a small smile, glancing away. I guess sometimes I feel like you're wasting your time and effort on me, Grian found himself confessing. What? Scar asked, moving to caress Grian's cheek and make him look at him. Loving you could never be a waste of time. Scar seemed genuinely distressed at Grian's confusion, making him feel guilty. I love you. Just because you've had an accident and we've. Scott paused, giving Green time to think of their secret identities in the silence. We've had some ups and downs, but I never stopped loving you. The only thing I wanted was for you to be okay. Scar smiled at Grian. But why? Grian whispered. Scar frowned. What do you mean? He asked, genuinely confused. He hesitantly pulled his hand away. Why me? Grian asked, unable to meet Scar's eyes. Why would I choose anyone else? Scar whispered, borderline annoyance in his voice. You're perfect. You're yourself. You don't deny your flaws. You speak your voice and you make it loud. You show what you care about, and if you're disrespected, you're not afraid to tell someone that. You're used to fighting, not love. Grian felt his heart jump at that fact, feeling so disgustingly transparent. And yeah, you're not used to love. You run from it because you've never had it, but that doesn't mean you don't deserve it. No matter how much you tell yourself that, it's not true. You deserve love, and I want you to accept mine. Scar frowned at Grian. Grian swallowed around the tube, trying not to focus on it. He couldn't meet Scar's eyes. He knew deep down Scar was right. He self-sabotaged and ruined every connection he had because he didn't know how to handle people. That's what made him unworthy of love. It was a vicious cycle. He wanted to break it. All right, Grian whispered, trying not to pay attention when Scar perked up at his words. I want you to love me. I want this. He breathed deeply, watching Scar grin at him like a madman. Grian couldn't help his own smile. I want to. He gestured between them. This. Us. We. I want this to be a thing. Grian stuttered out uselessly before laughing. Scar beamed at Grian, looking up at him. Grian smiled himself, leaning forward to give his lover a gentle kiss. It surprised Scar, but he quickly reciprocated, before Grian pulled away. It felt like it felt the same as the first time Grian kissed Scar, allowing Scar in to see all of him. He was opening up for the other. You'll be my lover? Scar asked. Mine? All mine? Scar asked, hand resting on Grian's neck. Grian smiled softly, nodding. Yes, if that means being in love with you, yes. Grian smiled, allowing his partner to pull him in for a more devoted kiss. Grian felt a rush of contentment fill his being. It was a moment of surrender, of fully embracing the love that had been waiting patiently between them. Grian realized that he had finally let go of his reservations and allowed himself to be swept up in the love Scar was offering. Scar's hand on Grian's neck was a reassuring touch, grounding him amidst the doubts of their shared affection. Grian leaned into the kiss, savoring the taste of Scar's lips and the mingling of their breaths. It felt like a promise. Grian promised to stop letting himself ruin things. In that embrace, Grian knew that he had finally found his safe haven, a place where he could be vulnerable and loved unconditionally. Scar had offered him the gift of acceptance and support, and Grian was ready to not only accept but also reciprocate that love. When they pulled away, Scar pressed a kiss to the side of Grian's nose with his tube. It felt more like Scar showing love for his flaws and vulnerability than a kiss to his nose. Grian allowed him before interrupting their soft moment. I'm sorry to ruin this moment, Grian frowned, immediately breaking his promise to himself. I I just want to talk about the Hawkeye stuff, Grian whispered, if that's okay. He added, trying to be as considerate as Scar. Scar looked a little concerned but smiled. I guess that's fair. Being vulnerable and allowing yourself to open up means I have to meet you halfway. Scar cleared his throat, shifting to rest his elbows on the bed. What is it? He asked. Grian opened his mouth before frowning. He glanced to the side and shifted, forcing his wings behind him before scratching the bed beside him. Can you join me? Grin asked, pleased when the other immediately moved to stand. He watched Scar take his shoes off before climbing onto the bed. Grian had to lift his arms so the ivy went over Scar's lap, and Grian's feeding tube went behind Scar. It was awkward and a little uncomfortable, but Grian still curled up under Scar's arms. Scar held him, despite the tubes and awkward angles. When did Scar began softly, his chest and voice rumbling against Grian's ear. When did you, find out? He whispered. I kept thinking about that, how you knew it was me. Why didn't you tell me? Scar asked, watching his lover shrink, hiding away at the question. Remember when you woke up on the ground and your mask was broken? You asked if I saw your face, and I told you no, but I was lying. I knew it was you after that. You kept asking me what was wrong, why I was so antsy, why I was upset. Grian trailed off. You knew it was me, and you didn't know how to react, Scar began before whispering. Do you think if you told me? Scar paused, hesitating. Do you think if you knew it wouldn't have led us to separate, and you wouldn't have had that fight, and... Scar swallowed, the topic still sensitive in his heart. Grian pressed his lips together. He wanted to try and reassure the other. Maybe, but maybe not. We'll never know. I mean, things happened this way for a reason, Grian mumbled softly. Scar's warm chest providing him with the comfort and warmth to feel tired again. Scar hummed, essentially lulling Grian to sleep. Are you alright with me being Hawkeye? I thought I was gonna be the one asking the questions here. Grian glared playfully at his boyfriend. Scar scoffed, lowering a hand to slide between Grian's wings. Grian eagerly allowed him, shifting so Scar had more room. You can't ask the questions if you're passed out asleep, Scar grumbled, hand moving to rest on Grian's lower back. Alright, let's take turns, Grian declared a compromise. When you, he began, his joking persona being set aside. He tried to think of how to work things so as to not sound hurtful. When you forced me to come to the Undercity with you, Grian whispered, already regretting bringing it up. I almost killed you, Grian sighed, reaching up to cover his face. He groaned, tears forming in his eyes. I hated you, and so much. I wanted you dead. Grian explained, refusing to look Scar in the eyes. Why? Grian whispered. Scar grit his teeth together above Grian's head. It's, Scar sighed, a couple of reasons. The most being the safety of the people in the city, and figuring out how to keep them safe. When I thought it through, I had you in mind. I didn't know then, but I thought of what it would be like to come home and see you got hurt. The thought scared me. I valued your life more than Exugwa's, which now I feel bad saying, but I had priorities. Another being, Exuma was forcing me to quit if I didn't. It's the only way he was able to get me to actually try instead of declining. This superhero thing is a deal. All of my medical bills are paid for, free of charge. Anything. If I had refused to betray Xelqua, I would have been forced to retire. No free medical bills. I wouldn't get to pay bills. I'd essentially be broke. I just couldn't afford to lose the free medical things. It's the only thing really keeping me alive. So that's what Scar meant when he explained it as Hawkeye. Grian closed his eyes, trying so hard to be accepting. I forgive you, I think. I want to, anyway. It hurts still, but I understand fully now, Grian whispered. What about you? When were you going to tell me about your hybrid side? Scar asked, hand squeezing Grian's spine. Grian debated correcting him, biting his lip. Mutant, I'm not a hybrid. Grian mumbled, remembering when Doc had told him that. It was baffling to think he wasn't supposed to be an avian. I actually the day the accident happened. When I saw you, I was going to tell you after classes. That was the secret I was keeping. I was going to explain my hybrid heritage and show you my wings and the scars and. Ruin trailed off, groaning softly. I explained the marks to you. I actually explained it to you. I forgot about that. Grin grumbled. You were going to show me your wings? Scar was caught up on that. Well, yeah. You told me yourself, if someone loved me, they would love all of me, flaws and all. And again, as yourself, and not Hawkeye. You told me there would be more of me to love. He rambled, glancing back at his limp and covered wing. He couldn't feel them still, but he could also barely feel his hands and feet. His head wings didn't have much control either. Yeah, I did, Scar mumbled softly. So, Doc is your dad? Pearls? He asked softly, still unsure how the family worked. Green chuckled softly. Kind of. Pearl and Jimmy are younger. Neither of them are actually related to me, he confessed. I met them when I was. Grin trailed off, changing the subject. They're my siblings, but not biologically. They're actually true hybrids who can't change their wing patterns or physical forms. Doc was, I guess, a mutant now. He was a hybrid before. I guess he was being forced to turn us into weapons for the Undercity or something. Forced? Scar faltered. Yeah, I mean, from my memory at least, I know he didn't want to. He didn't at first, anyway, Green explained, trying to remember. His memories and mind weren't well enough in the moment, causing some minor memory loss. If he was being honest, it was probably for the better this way. Oh, Scar whispered, biting his bottom lip. I kind of went off on him, Scar confessed. Green glanced up to meet his eyes finally, raising an eyebrow at him. Scar swallowed, preparing for Green to yell at him. I kind of laid on top of you and beat him, Scar admitted, not even trying to lie. I told him he was a monster and he deserved to be dying and not you. Scar. Green's voice trembled slightly as he reached out to gently touch Scar's chest. I'm sorry you had to go through that. No one deserves to be put in that position, especially not you, but. Green sighed. Scar's eyes were filled with remorse. I couldn't stand seeing him hurt you. I let my anger get the best of me, and I took it out on him without even considering the consequences. Scar tilted his head back. Green's heart ached for Scar, understanding the overwhelming emotions that had driven him to react the way he did. I know you were just trying to protect me, but I don't want him hurt. Scar nodded, eyes transfixed on the ceiling. You're right. I let my anger control me. In the moment, I was so angry. You were hurt for no reason. You could have died, and. Calm down, Green whispered to Scar, before spanning his arm further out over Scar's chest. He wrapped it around Scar's side, his fingers under Scar. He smiled, surprised, when Scar immediately eased under him. I didn't know you had it in you to be angry, Grin confessed. I mean, I've seen you angry at me before, and I've even fought you. Even then, you didn't fight back hard. Grin was aware Scar was fighting for his life, not against Grin. Even then, Grin knew that. I was. Scar began, his breathing even stopping for the moment, he thought. I was more than angry. All I could think about was you. You didn't deserve anything that happened to you. Being treated like a test subject. The fact that even after everything, you still tried living a normal life, and. Scar sighed, trying to organize his thoughts. I can't explain it so simply. I have so much love for you, and just knowing you didn't deserve that, it hurts, I guess. I can't find the words to explain. Green rested his eyes as Scar spoke, trying to understand the emotion Scar was explaining. I think I get it. Not to the same caliber, but the emotion, Green explained further. He bit his lip, debating to bring up his own definition. I feel that way sometimes about you. Just the way you were born into the world with your disability. You didn't do anything. You were always nice to me, even when we first met. I teased you. I was basically bullying you. I didn't tell you anything and was standoffish. I was so closed off and mean, and you didn't deserve that. And you were still nice to me. Grian grumbled, shrinking further into Scar's hold. Is that how you remember our first meeting? Scar asked curiously, adding to Grian's guilt. Grian only nodded against Scar's chest. Huh. I was more focused on why you never pushed your glasses up, Scar admitted, before cutting off his own conversation with the new one. By the way, how come you stopped wearing your glasses? You had them for like years, and then suddenly you just kind of stopped. I really like them, Scar pouted. What? Green laughed, moving to look up at Scar. Dude, I wear them like all the time. He stared at Scar with a confused expression. Scar squinted at Green, making Green feel almost nervous. Why aren't you wearing them right now? He asked quietly. Green couldn't help but snort loudly in Scar's face, slapping a hand over his nose. Scar couldn't help but laugh as well, reaching up to pull Green's hand from his face. Answer the question, Green, Scar sputtered out between laughs. Green snorted again, making a repulsed noise when he felt the tube move in his throat. He could feel his face turning red as he tried to calm down. Sorry, I know I almost died, but let me just go home and get my glasses real quick. Greer nearly screamed with laughter when Scar couldn't hold in his laughter. Green eventually caught his breath, calming himself with a content sigh. He felt Scar press a hand to his cheek before their lips met. Green made a surprised noise, but smiled against Scar's lips nonetheless. When he met Scar's eyes, he nearly fell off the bed with the expression Scar wore. Green's heart skipped a beat as he locked eyes with Scar. His lover gaze filled with an overwhelming affection that sent shivers down his spine. The intensity and adoration in Scar's eyes were enough to make Green's breath catch in his throat, feeling much tighter than it should have with the tube. He couldn't help but feel an odd warmth at the sight of Scar looking at him with such devotion. It was a common but beautiful moment, one that Green cherished and held close to his heart. Scar, Green whispered, his voice filled with a mixture of laughter and tenderness. You look lovesick. The soft, genuine smile grew on Scar's lips as he reached out to gently brush a strand of hair away from Green's face. I can't help it, he confessed. His voice was playful, but had underlying sincerity. Days ago, I was scared for your life, and now I get to laugh and hold you. I wasn't sure I'd ever get to do that again. Green frowned at that fact. He didn't know of how everyone else was handling the situation. Everyone was torn up and cared so much for him. It felt odd to be seen as something so valuable to others. Well, don't feel guilty. Scar stopped his spiral, kissing him on the nose again. Green had become used to Scar showing care for the things keeping him alive. You just snorted in my face, and it was the cutest thing you've probably ever done. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I love your laugh. I love it when you cackle, and especially when you snort. But being so close to my face, the trust you show by nearly screaming in my face with the way you laugh, well, it's beautiful. Scar rambled, lighting Green's face up an angry red. No one had ever paid so much attention to his laugh and the details of his life. You're not afraid to bare your teeth in every smile, and I mean real smile. You have a true, genuine smile, and it caresses your face with these lines. It gets me every time. Your cheeks, your cheek, your cheek kind of presses into the corner of your mouth, and I can see the little bumps in your front teeth. You have these ridges that leave these divots in your bottom lip. Scar discussed Green like he was talking about the weather. It came so naturally to Scar. Everything Scar said, it was such a casual tone, but the devotion was there. It made Green feel exposed. His heart was racing. Surely his heart monitor would give him away within seconds. Just as he figured it would, Scar was wrapping his arms around the other. Green groaned, bringing his hand up to cover his scarlet face. Are you embarrassed? Scar teased the other, but Green heard it, heard the fear in Scar's throat. No, Green removed his hands. Not embarrassed, just I. Green laughed bitterly, nervous he'd upset Scar. Humbled? Green questioned. No one's ever noticed those things, even the ridges in my teeth. I mean, who pays that close attention? Green asked, reaching up to press a self-conscious finger to his top lip. Me, Scar said simply, smiling at the other. It ate Green alive. Scar reached a hand up to pull Green's hand away. I love your little teeth ridges. They make your smile bigger. Thus gives more smiles to love. Scar replied easily, leaning in to kiss the corner of Green's mouth. Green grumbled softly and sighed heavily through his nose. You are going to be the absolute death of me. Green smiled through. Green smiled though. I'm still not used to being this cared for. I mean, I never have been, but you're so full of love. I would have never imagined this coming from you. Green voiced his thoughts. It's easy when it's all for you, Scar explained before his attitude shifted. Is it too much? He asked softly. If it's overwhelming, I can tone it down a notch. I don't want you to be forcing the I don't want to be forcing this all on you so suddenly. I mean, if it's a lot, we can slow down like you wanted before. Green shook his head, immediately throwing the idea away. Why would I ever want you to change? Green asked with a sour smile. Scar faltered before his expression eased. He leaned in to kiss Green's temple, finding it far too easy to give the other affection. You're full of love too, I think. I think you just needed to accept love to figure it out, Scar called Green out. Green glared playfully, squinting at him. I thought you were supposed to be my boyfriend, not my therapist, Green whispered, getting Scar to laugh. Green smiled, feeling a sort of pride in getting Scar to laugh. He didn't remember ever making Scar snort, but a laugh would suffice. I'm allowed to care about you, Scar laughed softly, leaning back again. If that didn't bring back memories that surged through Green. He smiled fondly, leaning into the other again. He adjusted his position and tucked himself away under Scar's arm once more. His favourite spot. You were serious when you yelled at me, Green blurted out, getting Scar's attention. I yelled at you? Scar whispered, looking at Green in distress. Green nodded, not looking up to see his expression. I accused you of accidentally loving me, Scar frowned. Green frowned, thinking about how much it must have hurt Scar. I didn't think you yelled at me that you cared about me on purpose, and I was so mean to you, Green sighed. You weren't mean to me, Scar whispered, hand coming up to rest on Green's hip to hold him closer. Green loved it when Scar held him like that. It felt almost like he was being cradled. You were distressed. You just react differently to panic, and I wasn't exactly making the situation amazing. I had to hide stuff from you and couldn't explain it. I'm sure that would have frustrated anyone, but knowing you, it makes a lot of sense why you acted like that. I don't mind. I can handle it. Scar rambled for a bit before humming. In fact, I'd love to handle you. Through anything, love or anger. Whether you choose to scream or snort in my face, I think I'd prefer anything over you laying lifeless under me forever, Scar mumbled. He closed his eyes and waited for a response, humming when it was quiet for a longer time than usual. He leaned his head forward to see Green with his eyes closed. Did you fall asleep again? Scar whispered, watching the blonde's head shift limply down. Scar was quick to catch him, face softening at the sight. Green shifted slowly, eyes opening at the movement. What? He asked softly, apparently not so tired as Scar had thought. Nothing, Scar whispered. Go back to sleep. I'll be here, Scar promised, kissing the avian's hair. Green grumbled softly, but easily settled back into Scar's side. Scar leaned back and set Green back down, gently pulling his bangs out of his face. He weaseled his hand under Green's cheek, pride growing in his chest when the blonde seemed to lean into the touch. Do you think we'll be together forever? Green asked suddenly, catching Scar off guard. Both because he broke the silence, also because his voice shook Scar's hand. Scar thought about it, a thumb rubbing gentle circles in Green's cheek. He didn't want to ruin Green's perception, but he wanted to be honest. I mean, I think forever isn't possible, but in this lifetime, yes. Until we die, we'll be together. After that time is up, though, I'll find you again, Scar whispered. Find me again? Green mumbled sleepily. Yeah, in our next lifetime, I'm going to find you again. No one else deserves my love like you do, so I don't see a point in ever wasting my time with someone else, Scar explained. How will you know it's me? Green asked, instead of questioning Scar's peculiar behavior. Scar smiled knowingly. Oh no. You think so? Green slurred, sleep settling over him finally. I know so, Scar whispered back, glancing down at Green. He continued running his thumb over his cheek, smiling to himself. He would let the other sleep, for now. He could watch Green come back to life later. Okay, so that was chapter 31. Chapter 32 was the last one, so yeah, the chapter 32 is the epilogue, so that was technically the end of the story. They're cute. That's sweet though, the whole. Wasn't expecting the whole every lifetime one, but that's cute. They're sweet. Um, yeah, I don't have much to say. It's wholesome. Happy ending. All's good. We're happy. Okay, well, I don't have much else to say, so tell me what you guys thought about it in the comments. Tell me what you think will happen next in the epilogue, I guess. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.